Hey everyone, Berserk chapter 383 is out. The story picks up right where volume 43 left off. Let's get into it. First, a quick recap of the previous chapter. After Rakshas's intrusion, the Kushan infighting settles down for the moment. Branded as the source of calamity, Guts is led deep into the forest, again at the suggestion of the unfathomable sorcerer Daiba. Walking through the night, the party arrives at an ancient holy burial site, a stupa. Traveling with Guts are Isidro, Puck, and Azan. Sealot also joins them. Guts makes no move to resist, he simply goes along. The Tapasa pry open the heavy door, and Guts goes in alone. Daiba, so you go. Here, you pass on Daiba's line here is a bit intriguing, isn't it? Puck's expression as he watches Guts walk away is somehow wistful, and it really sticks with you. Now, let's look at the latest chapter. Guts feels his way forward through the darkness inside the stupa, but there's no sign of people or objects. Only at the center is something on the floor with an organic membrane-like texture. It's a little unsettling, isn't it? The look of it calls to mind a man-made Beharit and the god of the abyss. Guts himself shows no sign of concern and collapses as if drawn in. It's pitch black, so he can probably rely only on touch. Only we, the readers, can see it. Then a black substance oozes from the ceiling. It spreads little by little and wraps Guts up. We get his inner voice, at last. And at the end of his outstretched hand, he gazes at Griffith and Casca. The two of them in the Band of the Hawk Days, and the two of them on Skellig, framed like a revolving lantern-style flashback. After that brief reminiscence, a great volume of water wells up from nowhere, covers Guts, and he's swallowed by a mysterious, thick membrane, as if a fetus immersed in amniotic fluid within a mother's womb. That's where this installment ends. The first thing that caught my eye was this sinking scene. It reminded me of the sequence during Griffith's rebirth at the Eclipse, when he goes to meet the god of the abyss. Back then too, he was sinking, held in a clenched hand, likely within darkness, or rather another plane. Likewise, the way they entered the corridor of dreams to restore Casca's mind was shown as lying down on the mushrooms and sinking deeper and deeper. In Berserk, this sinking image feels like a prelude to crossing a boundary. Not the land of the living versus the dead, nor the waking world versus the spirit world, but a journey into one's own world. And this episode's title is Mumyo Mushi, Ignorance Without Beginning. This is a Buddhist term meaning that ignorance delusion has no starting point. It is the root of our confusion and continues without end. At first glance, that might seem to contradict Berserk's law of causality, but a bit of digging suggests the two can stand in parallel. Causes do form chains, however, you never arrive at a single primal starting point. That is what without beginning points to. In other words, even if you hunt for the very first cause of your suffering, you won't find a definite origin. So, rather than chasing origins, what matters is how you change the flow of causation in the present moment. Loosely put, a lot has happened already, but there's no use dwelling on it. What do you want to do now, Guts? Then there's Daiba's line, of course, within is a void. However, in the original Japanese manga, it's written as, the inside is Garando no Uro. First, Garando is the word we use for a hollow, empty place. Its etymology is often traced back to the Buddhist term Garan, a monastery complex, and by extension, it can mean a place of practice. Ura, cave, or hollow, similarly carries the sense of emptiness, but with the nuance of an emptied-out cavity, something whose contents have been lost, very much like Guts' current state. In Buddhist terms, Ura equals emptiness, ku, the idea that all things lack inherent existence, and it can hint at the state of sunyata reached through practice and meditation. By entering the Garando, Guts lets go of everything and returns to the origin. That wording leans pretty Buddhist, so to put it another way, it's like a place where, having lost everything and been hollowed out, you pour yourself, back into the emptied vessel. Read this way, it ties into Daiba's line. There is naught to gaze into, but the self. Honestly, I'm starting to lose the thread myself. Please help fill in the gaps in the comments. So what will Guts confront inside the stupa? A clue lies in the Skellig Elfhelm episode where Casca was restored. There, Shirka and Farnese entered Casca's inner world with the aim of gathering the crucial shards of memory, the parts of the heart that make Casca who she is. Thanks to that, Casca regained her sense of self. As Berserk depicts it, the stupa, just as Daiba says, offers an opportunity to face oneself. In the previous analysis, I floated the idea that Guts might reconnect with the Band of the Hawk by linking to the afterlife/spirit realm, but this time, a dialogue within memory fits the episode title Mumio Mushi, Ignorance Without Beginning, much better. Personally, I would have been hyped to see him meet that Band of the Hawk from after the eclipse. In other words, what's to be depicted are all the past and memories that have shaped the Guts we see now. In Guts' case, it isn't only anger or hatred, it's why he fights and what he wants to protect. I think this arc is the process of Guts reclaiming, for himself, his reason to fight. Pushing it further, this may even be the right moment to reveal Guts' very origins. His birth parents are still unknown. All we know is that he was found crying beneath a corpse. What's more, I suspect we may also get the Skull Knight's past arc, the one Miura mentioned in an interview. Because this new chapter encompasses the beginnings of the God Hand and the Skull Knight, as well as Guts' psychological rebirth, Miura agonized over it as much as he did the Eclipse. According to Mori, Miura came back to consult him about this part for years, dozens of times. He wrestled with it as much as the Eclipse, the backbone of Berserk, and spent years figuring out how to advance it. I'm hoping this will finally pick up several of the big lingering mysteries. If we take Daiba's words at full weight, this is a chance for Guts to look inward and recast his long, revenge-driven journey with new meaning. Revenge fueled by his rage has already lost its edge. So should he end the journey here? Of course not. What's to be depicted next isn't a power-up, it's Guts regaining the reason to take up his sword again. That, I think, is what this recurring image of sinking is there to show. As I mentioned in the previous video, Miura-sensei once said Guts won't become an apostle. A viewer pointed me to the source, so I tracked down the 1997 art book I'd been curious about. Here's a portion from the interview in it. Even back in 1997, the interviewer pressed him on the power gap between Guts and Griffith. Miura laughed.
People always say this. Guts can't beat opponents that strong.
When asked, so will Guts also gain some inhuman power? He answered,
No. If we did that, Guts wouldn't be human anymore, would he? That's a bit... But Guts, fundamentally, is a very lucky guy who lives in very unlucky circumstances.
So yes, straight from Miura himself, Guts doesn't become non-human, i.e. not an apostle. And that last line, a lucky guy living in the unluckiest of circumstances, is a wonderfully suggestive phrase. I haven't finished reading the art book yet, but it also touches on a core issue about the God Hand. Really exciting stuff. I plan to cover that separately. Thanks for watching.